here to have a conversation with you, and we're excited that you're all here. My name is Samira Ansari Bogle, and I'm the Vice President of YouTube Ads Marketing here at Google. And why we're here together. So, we're seeing that, and you all know this. I mean, YouTube is just such a great platform to bring brands and culture together. I'm constantly amazed by how brands are showing up in multi-layered, multi-format ways on our platform. And this allows brands to really tell stories of various lengths, styles, tones. And it really allows brands to draw millions of viewers and comments along the way. And beyond brand storytelling, what's also amazing and what we're seeing is that creative quality contributes to nearly 50% of media impact, far surpassing reach and frequency of touch points according to Kantar cross-media database. And that's why I'm so excited with this crew that I have on stage with me here today to talk about creativity on our platform. But before we jump in, just want to give a little intel of what we're seeing on the platform right now. As I mentioned, brands are really tapping into culture and a lot of the hit makers, so our creators. So every day they're tuning into YouTube to really watch their favorite creators and see what they're up to. Brand creativity has really exploded on shorts on our platform. So, as we know, shorts can go high, lo-fi, basically be driven by creators, by artists, and it really has an immediate impact on campaigns. The other piece that we're also seeing is that long-form storytelling has really unlocked a deeper connection with viewers. And for those who don't know, for the past 12 months, we've been the #1 streaming platform on connected TVs, and that's ahead of Netflix and some other streamers. So we're excited to see just the engagement of the living room. And brands are really tuning into AI, and this is allowing them to find their audience, enhance their creativity, and take a lot of the guesswork out of creative versioning and optimizing their existing creative assets. So on that note, I'm going to introduce our panel. So I'm joined here today by Gary Vaynerchuk, and many of you know him, so give Gary a round of applause. I got that so you could capture that for your video, Gary. He's the CEO of VaynerX. I'm also joined by Samira, the Chief Creative Officer at Ogilvy New York. Let's give her a round of applause. And Rob, the Global Chief Creative Officer at WPP.
Global.
Yes, the boss.
Worldwide. Yeah.
Worldwide.
Universal.
Worldwide. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sure you all know these wonderful people, so let's just get right into it. Sound good for everybody?
I think so.
All right, good. So, Gary, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
Tell us a bit about your journey as a YouTube creator and CEO of a media company. What made you get started? What have you learned as a creator over the years, which could be applicable to brands?
Let me focus on the third one, because I'm just trying to focus very much on bringing value to this epic crew. So my journey as a creator started on February 21st, 2006. So I've been on the platform for a long time. I would argue that YouTube desperately changed my life. I was running a wine retail business. I built Wine Library on the back of email marketing and Google AdWords. My entire thesis in life of marketing is what I call day trading attention. What's overpriced attention, what's underpriced attention, and then a deep belief of what you said and many of the people in this room, that creative is 100% the variable of success. I believe the Super Bowl is the best ad in marketing because I can't, even with my really great infrastructure and years of experience, I can't get 150, 160 million Americans to fully watch a 30-second video for $8 million. So it's the best media buy. The problem is the creative is the variable. And if the creative doesn't win, as we all know, that becomes a very expensive $50, $70 million buy, because you have to buy a lot of media, just not the Super Bowl production, the creative fees, we all know. So I obsess over that, excuse me. So I started with wine videos. It changed a lot for me because I built my dad's business on email marketing, Google search, then YouTube, then Twitter and Facebook. That made me confident that there was something going on with marketing, because prior to that, I was running local television ads, direct mail, full page ads in the New York Times and Wall Street Journal and Star Ledger. And so I've done everything. And so I think I'll go to the third one. The thing that I learned as a creator that I continue to beg this industry to care a little bit more about is the practitionership of it. When you're a creator, all of the people on YouTube and every other platform, they don't have the luxury of the proxies that we all play with in advertising landscape. There is no fake reports. There is no ad age. There is no Cannes Lions. It's just the merit of the game. Either you're good or you're not. Either you've built an audience or you didn't. Either you sold stuff or you didn't. And so there's a merit that you learn as a creator that I think does not exist at the same level in the industry of advertising. And I think that is the disconnect and the opportunity for so many of us.
Great. I think building on that, we, as I mentioned before, creative quality, and you mentioned it, it really is a variable, and it's really
yes. But I believe that plays out in real life, not in boardrooms.
Yes, exactly. And so, on that note, Samira, Rob, would love to understand some ways that your team has been able to play into these creative opportunities, and specifically on YouTube.
Look, you talked about the Super Bowl, Gary. I think one of the things that I think Regis did recently was CeraVe at the Super Bowl. And it's funny, the actual Super Bowl spot was almost a cherry on top of a huge social campaign, right? Yeah. So we did use social media and YouTube specifically to create a conspiracy theory weeks before the Super Bowl. Like a lot of times, Gary, you said it, people make the spot, all the eyes are on the spot, the money's spent on the spot, then they drop it a few days before as like a teaser, but our actual teaser campaign, which was a huge social media campaign, was the campaign. Yeah. And then when the spot dropped, there was already 9 billion impressions, and that was done through YouTube and social media and influencers, which you guys are the creators of YouTube. YouTube is the creators of influencers. So we think about it in the context of context and culture. Like, how do you get into culture, and how do you use YouTube, social media, to get into the conversation? We no longer are like throwing things out there willy-nilly.
Right.
To add to the noise of YouTube and social media. It's all contextual and strategic.
And I saw even with your campaign, you did tap into YouTube creators.
We absolutely did. Yeah. That, like for example, Bobby Altroff, right? Like she blew up overnight. She has the very good podcast on YouTube, which I'm obsessed with because her tone is amazing. So there was an 8-piece sort of an 8-piece interview with Michael Cera where he sort of walked off stage, and it sort of added to the whole conspiracy theory, but it was all by design, right. So and then we did a YouTube takeover on the day of the Super Bowl, and then the spot was dropped on YouTube, so that YouTube played a really big role to kind of move people around from different pieces of media, and sales went up by 100% like overnight because of everything that we did.
Amazing. Rob?
I mean, that's the only metric that matters, like when you make something great in the world, and CeraVe is an amazing example. We have something special planned for CeraVe at the end, so let's not forget this. It doesn't matter if you're making something that wins in Cannes. Cannes, like, again, this is all, I believe, CCOs and ECDs, creative people in this room, right? I wish it was media people, and I wish it was brand marketing, because I sit in sometimes, whether it's at YouTube or maybe other places, and it's necessarily the wrong people. Like, we'll do anything. We'll make ads and ideas that go anywhere. We have to start with a big idea first, right? It doesn't matter, like, whether it's CeraVe or what we did with Verizon and Beyonce and launching her music there. Like, that started with a great idea that she can break the internet, but she can't break Verizon. If it didn't have that part, it didn't matter. Right. Like, and if it didn't have results, doesn't matter if we win on an ad meter on one of these things. If it didn't drive business, then we're out of business. That's how you get more chances to do things. YouTube has been so incredible for a long time now. I'm old, that's why I wear a hat. You can't see them bald. But it's been around. It's the place where and you've convinced people, and Volkswagen was the first one to really do it, really take advantage of YouTube in a way of making a longer form of something. When the Darth Vader, film came out and it really launched on YouTube, played other places, but really launched on YouTube, the long form, by the time you got to the Super Bowl, it already had won. Right. And the shorter version played. So I do think that's probably the biggest impact on the advertising business is as creative people and creators, we know we can do longer form things on YouTube that you still can't do anywhere else, even on TikTok or any other places.
I think to add on that, there's a really interesting thing about that Volvo thing, and just looking at everybody react to that, because it's so of our industry. 7 years earlier than that, Will It Blend, the blender, built a business right? And I see some of you remember it. Yeah. Built a business from $0 to $80 million in sales when nobody was even on the platform-ish yet to the size and scale that we're at. And I think that's what gets me excited about what I'm sensing in our industry, because now I'm 15 years in, and so there's a lot of context that comes along with that kind of level of time. And what it is that I think this conversation is starting to actually happen, meaning the CeraVe thing, which I thought was so well done. I feel like the will it blends and like to me, I can't believe that anybody even has a conversation about not understanding that pre-roll YouTube has a prayer of being seen in a world where a television commercial has none. Right? And I think if you just start with that, you have a prayer. But what I don't think our industry is great at yet, but we will, is I know we think in big ideas. And when you said that, I see the body language of the crew. But what I definitely know is just do it. Where's the beef? The greatest ideas of all time have no prayer in YouTube commercial form if the execution doesn't understand the first second of the video in a YouTube distribution form. Right, I think the thing that we're struggling with still is the context and the strategy, the science around the art of the new distribution channels. Right, like 1984 was different because just a lot of people would watch a commercial more so than now. It's just the way it was. You had more at bats, like it just happened that way.
Captive audience, right?
That's right. Yeah. It could happen, but now, like 99% of YouTube pre-rolls videos are not made great for a YouTube pre-roll video. But I do think that over time it's starting to feel like Madison Avenue is starting to actually debate like, oh wait, the context of the creative has to matter or we'll have no chance for it to be seen. And I think that's nice. I think we're starting to get close. I can smell it.
And that's a great tee up for my next question, actually. So, we all know that attention, branding, connection, and direction are integral to creating effective video ads. And internally, we call that, and we also share it with the industry, the ABCDs of video ads. So how do each of you think about the essential aspects of a video campaign, from the kickoff of the brief all the way through to the execution of the creative?
Ladies first.
Thank you. I don't want to repeat what Rob said, but it's again about the idea, right? It's the context, it's the strategy behind it. What are we trying to do? Why are we there? Is it a short? Because that's very different. Is it long form? Why is it long form? Who's going to watch it? Like we just, we're talking about really sexy campaigns. I'm going to talk about one that we did for Cortiva, which is like an agricultural farming company, right?
It's pretty sexy.
I mean, no one.
Farming is sexy.
Agri-science, I learned as a word, right? But we created a documentary series called The Heart of the Farm, and it was about minorities in farming, women, gay farmers, all of that, and millions of views. But it was in the context and the audience that we were talking to that the material mattered, right? So millions and millions of views with this 4-minute mini-series documentary, and it was on YouTube, but it was there for a reason, for an audience. Like it didn't appeal to me. Rob, have you seen it?
I have.
There you go. It's pretty cool.
But I don't know if I would have. I'm not sure I would have seen it if I.
If you were in the audience, right? So I think that's, for me, it's the idea and the audience and how you'd speak to them, and that's what YouTube is for.
Yeah.
I don't think we spend enough time. Again, we're not necessarily talking about YouTube and videos for YouTube and the ABCs of making content, but the briefing part, I think we've completely lost faith in a bit. And I think a lot of clients have lost faith in, like, do we need so much strategy and there's too many decks? And even when we sometimes work with Google, we have sometimes these conversations, but like the brief is the most important thing. Again, the people who are making this content, whether it's on YouTube or on Facebook or any other places, like they're young people, right? Well, so they look at the world in a different place, but like sometimes we give in these briefs that are so impossible. I always say to clients, like, this brief has to be their best friend, not their worst nightmare. Like, right. It's midnight and they got to show work to Gary or to Samira or to myself or all the people in this room at 9 a.m. and they have nothing. The brief is either their best friend or worst nightmare. Make it simple, make it pointed, make them understand, like, here's the places it can play. If YouTube is a platform by which you want, right? Like, why and how and like, what are we trying to accomplish? We don't spend enough time. We race through the brief or like, we got it approved, but like, spend that time, because I promise you, if you can't figure it out, the 25-year-old will be able to figure it out in a way that's compelling.
We take a little bit of that energy and go in a completely different direction with it. So we think briefs are the biggest vulnerability in the industry. So And what we mean by that is, I'm agreeing with that energy, but we're pretty transparent. This is why most people don't hire us, is we're pretty transparent that we don't really believe in it, meaning the brief is quite simple. You want to sell stuff, right? And so we think in cohorts, not in briefs. So we think the brief is actually very simple. It is not very hard to understand what Kit Kat wants to happen, or Reebok wants to happen, or like, it's not complicated. So we think in terms of consumer segmentations with teeth at scale. So the reason I think we've been able to grow a lot is we're binarily playing in business result outcomes. We're also a little unique in the industry that we started from day one with media and creative together in one roof, right? Which was naivete. Just to be very transparent, wasn't smart. I just didn't know. I've also been building the company the whole time for myself, for my business ventures as an operating system. So I didn't even know that, literally, this is actually true. I didn't know when I started VaynerMedia that media and creative were in separate company form. Because I was thinking so internet, you couldn't. You can't. So we don't actually really do briefs. Of course, as you can imagine, when I say that, they're going to give us one, but we're very over the top transparent of like, hey, we'll look at it. But you all know this. You all are so achieved in this industry. Like, briefs are subjective, right? Like, they're words. Like, sometimes when people get a little bit, antsy with me and get a little bit feisty, I remind them, the go-to question I always ask them, like, do you know what the Constitution is? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, well, 50% of this country reads it one way and 50% reads it the other way. And so, like, words can be interpreted. And so briefs are words, and it's all interpretation. And we spend so much agita with ourselves, with our teams, and then with our clients, with a lot of anxiety of how people interpret words. I think the brief is very simple for businesses. They're trying to accomplish outcomes. And so we go very heavy into consumer segmentations at scale. And then because we're social first creative, we're social at the center creative AR, we go into production and doing ads from day one. So our Super Bowl commercials are the output of the year, not the ideas of people like everyone in this room in a boardroom for a couple months or weeks coming up to it. We go backwards. So we market all year to extract out consumer insights to then have this Super Bowl spot. And I think everything we do is backwards.
But don't you think that's a little simple? I mean, I don't disagree, but I think we make the briefs complicated. And they should be simple, but we make them complicated because either we feel like we need. So I'm saying, how do we simplify them for young people?
I think that's right.
We talk to ourselves sometimes, right?
Not sometimes. And I think that's like what I would say to this room. Like, when I look at this room, I'm like, first, I think the world is abundant. I think our industry is very complicated. Like, I'm genuinely, when I go to Cannes, I'm like, man, why are people so mad at each other? Like, I love competition. Every single game I play, I want to win. And business, I want to win. But this industry is so obvious, like every industry, there's nothing but abundance. Like, okay, you lose this account, you're gonna get that account. Like, there's unlimited abundance. I think the industry is not happy. And I think we can be happier, and I think there's a lot to that. All the holding companies are banks, and I respect that. They're publicly traded companies, and they have to think in stock terms, but that leads to that is the opposite of creativity. Right, so we're stuck in that. B, there's a lot of competition. It's downsizing. There's a lot of stuff going on, and then I think the briefs become, to your point, like another version of our unhappiness. Like, we make it complicated. It's so much insecurity and politics when debating a brief. Like, many people get abused on the way up to this place with like not fun. Like, I couldn't even comprehend the war stories of everyone sitting in this room, of the moments where they were put down and this and that, all insecure, and then they get there and they replicate the behavior subconsciously, and it's just like, it could just be so much better, especially because we now live in this world where everyone here has so many, the greatest ideas of every person in this room made the cutting room floor. And the fact that we now live in an industry where you can actually make these ads day to day, like, every one of you has 13 good ideas for every one of your clients in a minute. That's what you were born to do. I just think those ads need to go out into the world, not be debated for months and years, and then the consumer insights, both quant and qual, lead to the ability of making better ideas. Our entire framework is making as many good ads as we can, to make better ads. And I thought I was like this smart guy until I realized that's what Betty Crocker did in the 50s. Absolutely. Do you know that Betty Crocker ran local newspaper ads all around the country with different creative that were contextual to the cities and states they were in, looked at business results a month later, and that became their TVC.
Gary, you talk about insights, which to me is the most important thing. We are consumers, right? I spend hours and hours on YouTube because I'm a mother of a 2-year-old. I'm just an older mother and no one can help me every time I ring to ask for questions. No one knows, so I go to YouTube. I'm a consumer. I spend time on TikTok, on YouTube, whatever. I need to be entertained. I'm there for a reason. I'm either looking for something, I'm looking for an answer, right? So it's pretty easy. If you're creating content, you have to have the insights to know what people are looking for, what they're interested in. So we make it complicated with briefs, but briefs shouldn't do that. The briefs should give me the insight into a consumer's mind. If I'm not that consumer and I don't understand them, then it's easy to create content for that.
And to Gary's point, I think it's not just one insight. It's like,
what are they doing? What are they watching?
Cohorts of consumers you want to speak to? Right. What are all the insights and how do we test and learn? And I think that's the beauty of
the intersection of that with our brand,
exactly.
And I think words matter. I think test and learn has people.
Okay, not test and
learn. No. Let me say this because I view this as like a friend circle.
Yeah,
I think it's ads for the sake of making better ads.
Broadcast, Gary.
Oh, is it? Is this live?
No,
is
it's
this
not.
live?
No, it's not.
You can't swear.
No worries.
No, it's not. I don't think it's tested. I think what it is.
If I may, please, I'm so passionate about this because I think this can unlock so much for everyone in the room. When you think in test and learn, it makes the individual social short or TikTok or tweet less. When you think of it as like a lot of us, looking at the room, a lot of you grew up probably in the earliest part of your career, there was still a lot of respect for a print ad and a lot of thought that would enter that. Or an respect, but I don't think it's as respected. It's not as, with all due respect, print people, it's not as important. It's not consumed as much, right? It's just about attention. It's nice, but it's always overpriced. Outdoor billboards, there's thought that goes into that. I don't understand how we're not in a place where we understand an individual short video that has the potential, if the creative's right, to get 5 million views, actual. How that continues to be in the place of like test and learn versus ad to do better ad. I think that framework could really change our industry.
I think it's more like you want to put it out there and you want to adapt and you want to build upon it. Because I think test and learn is, yes, I'm probably saying my age, but I've been in the industry for a long time. And that was how we used to do, is test and learn, and whatever worked, okay, that's what we're going to amplify.
Good news, that's what my company says nowadays. I walk around in meetings trying to get them to stop saying it too. Yeah. It is the way we talk about it in the industry. The point I'm trying to make that I'm curious what people think is, if we actually thought of them as important, we would make them important, and it would change the way I think we think about these pieces of creative.
So we spoke about print, but I know that there is still right now, and we see it when we talk to brands, the perception that TV is still what brands sometimes focus on, and that creative. What's this panel's perspective on that? Like starting with TV first, and are brands still doing that? How do we shift that perception?
Well, there's TV and there's video. I think video is the most powerful. It's obviously, right? It's the most powerful. Gary's point about print, we all love great print and respect it and the craft of it. And it's awesome, and we see it, and when we're in a magazine or seeing a billboard that's or a bus stop, and you see something that's in a printed form, you're like, wow, that's incredible. But the video is incredible. So I think we're in that era, and we're TV. It's just funny, we were talking about before with my colleagues about YouTube and YouTube TV, the difference, and even explaining the difference to that to people. Because I think YouTube still suffers from the fact that it started with very homegrown videos and low quality and great. So some brands don't even know if we should be launching ideas, and if we have time to show work, hopefully I brought a piece of work from Dove. Dove has made its brand on YouTube. It literally has made its brand on YouTube. By the way, it started with an incredible platform of really supporting women and real beauty, but think about all the things that we've talked about, whether they've won awards that have blown up on in the world, it's because of YouTube, because we've been able to show the long form in high quality. But I still think it suffers. There still needs to be some education within our industry, but I think people don't know that they can go to YouTube to watch high definition quality stuff. So there is a bit of of education still needs to be done. So I don't know. I think the TV part, yes, live TV, the Super Bowl, like you do great work on the Super Bowl, and we happy to do some great work this year. Like it has changed us as a company, and it's been a great year. If we sorry, I cursed. Like then you're having a really bad beginning of the year, so it is important. But I think we got to get past whether it's TV first. It's of course idea first, but it really is like video is the key. If you're not spending, I think 90% of your time on how you're reaching people through video or any kind of video, then you're wasting your time.
Well, video allows you to do storytelling, right? So whether it's long form pieces, like you go to YouTube after the Super Bowl to see the spots again and to see the longer versions of it because it's housed there and that's what you go there for. I talked about Cortiva, documentary series. You're there to educate, tell a story, entertain. Like video is never going to go away, and it's the strongest sort of form of communications. And brands just need to kind of get better at it, and they are getting better at it.
I mean, I'm watching Gary's wine text, GaryVee's wine text videos on whether TikTok or these things. It's not because he's here. It's actually because
You're interested in the content.
I'm interested in the context, but also it's entertaining to me. So when he says a wine's bananas, I'm like, I gotta fucking get that wine. Like I was like, it's because I know you're being honest about it, you know. So there's something about it that like we got to get past this, whether it's TV or not. I think YouTube could do a little bit of a better job educating people in the industry of like, oh, there's YouTube TV, there's YouTube platforms, there's Masthead, there's all these different things that are available, but we're not necessarily thinking about how we're great for that.
I think these are all incredibly valid points. I personally, and not because we're in the room, and I do like to shoot it as straight as I can. I think YouTube does more than fine of a job of explaining YouTube TV and YouTube. I also think that anybody with a half a brain can Google it and understand it in about 2 minutes. I think there's a different part of the conversation, which is the holding companies that own all the companies in this room make commitments to television because of the way their business runs and the margins they make on television that are different than what they make on social media, and that dictates how much television is being produced. And by the time it gets to everyone down here, that's already been decided.
But then what do you call television? YouTube TV is television.
Well, no, I think
Hulu is television.
Yes, I understand, but
Netflix is
yes,
kind of television.
That's right.
You know?
That's the point I'm saying. We're talking semantics of CTV and fast channels and where the world of video is moving. I agree. I think the reason that people continue to spend a lot of money on television, as we know it, network television, cable television, has a lot more to do with the business aspect of what everyone's here in and how the media side of their business works and where the margin is and how much they make money on it, not if it's good for their clients.
Possibly.
I mean, it's a real by the way,
yeah.
I could be wrong. I'm just saying I don't think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think
Agree to disagree, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's different perspectives on
well, the
that.
different perspective is that, I think that everybody in the creative room here would absolutely like to make better videos because they're capable and they're extremely talented. And I think if their kids' health depended on it and they spent the money, they would probably spend their money on the distribution on those videos in different places than network television and cable. And I don't think it's a bad thing that businesses do the right thing by their business. I'm just saying that's why it's happening. I think YouTube would get dramatically more money, like they do from every other part of the world besides the Fortune 500 landscape, because everybody else has to play on the merit of the outcomes. VC-backed companies, small businesses, and so I think it's just going to be.
India is a perfect example of a country that is, it's the biggest market for, I think, YouTube. I think USA is second. I think YouTube is 486 million viewers in India and 60,000 million here in the US. So India has figured it out, and you're exactly right. We have the biggest media company in the world, and the biggest company in India. 50% of the media is done through Group M. So we firmly believe in YouTube. So I don't know. I just think it's not always fair to say it's the holding companies. It's just in general, it's the brands. The brands are nervous to get off the crack of network TV.
Yeah. And that's why the question was how are brands thinking about video holistically? Are they thinking about it TV first? And I think there's still shifts. We have to help shift the mindset.
Some brands better than others,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think there's incredible validity to what you're saying. There's plenty of board members at these brands that don't allow their CEOs and CMOs to shift that media, and I think it's an incredibly fair point.
So would love to turn to creative. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Samira. Rob, would love you to share the examples of the work that I know we have an example of Dove, Cost of Beauty film, as well as the CeraVe, True Crime. So we can tee those up.
I think it's hard to follow. You should do CeraVe first. I think it's fun. Where's the prop? I'll do the prop. I'll do that part.
So we talked about it a lot, right? What I'm really proud of what the team did was, I think what we do well at Ogilvy is we have PR, social, everything in the same building, and it's the best example of our offering, Gary Holding Company or not, right? We all sit in the same building, so this was a Super Bowl brief, but if you think about it, it was so social first, and by the time the Super Bowl happened, the spot was just like, that's funny. Yeah. It is funny, right? But it's not a commercial. It was a whole program that ran for a whole month, essentially. So I have the case study because I can tell the whole stories, and it's got really amazing results, but it's funny and entertaining, and people got into it. Like, it was a little nugget of a thing that we found on Reddit that someone thought that CeraVe was invented by Michael Cera. And CeraVe is a very clinical brand, and they talk about dermatologists and like, how the do you shop? Sorry, I swore. How do you show up at the Super Bowl?
We'll never be invited back.
No,
This group will
no.
never invite back.
Like we said, it's a
Gary's been here a lot of times. This guy curses more than anybody. So
and I'm Australian, so I can't help myself, right? But like, how do you show up at the Super Bowl and make derms look sexy, right? And obviously Super Bowl celebrities, blah blah blah. So this, I think, is and you know, the team did such a genius job at like creating, and the brand behind it too, this conspiracy theory, and then the brand sort of joined in and fed the conspiracy theory. So it was this constant conversation for 4 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, and the case study kind of tells you all. So let's watch it.
great.
Out of the way.
Actor,
Wait, what is he doing?
dancer, cream genius?
I've seen a lot of claims you've been making lately.
Claims. I can't be held responsible for every rumor, every nasty rumor about me.
We received this email. The subject is King of Skincare. I have it on very good authority that actor Michael Cera has been hiding something big.
No, we're not going to take 5 minutes.
That question because I
Move
want to
on.
ask. Whoa!
He's allegedly the brains behind skincare brand CeraVe.
Something is going on with Michael Cera. I'm obsessed.
Great products.
Like, is he okay?
I'm here with Michael Cera from CeraVe. I could be from CeraVe, yeah.
Michael Cera sent me a box with his face all over it. I just really hope it's not his head.
If human skin is paper, let me be the poem. CeraVe. CeraVe is Michael Cera's skincare line.
He comes from millions of dollars in lotion money.
Michael Cera created CeraVe. I'm not kidding. And what happened next?
That's when CeraVe came in to shut it down.
They came out with a statement saying there's no association with Michael Cera.
Michael Cera did not develop CeraVe. Dermatologist did.
Welcome back to Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas.
I'm Michael Cera, and human skin is my passion, which is why I developed this. CeraVe, developed with Michael Cera. V. We like?
They did a great job, by the way, with social marketing, too, whoever did this.
It was brilliant. I don't have any social media or anything. I don't even have a smartphone. Wow.
But it doesn't end there. Because, you know, every year we got to follow it up for next year.
So listen, we have to do a spot next year. So we had Michael Cera. So now we have Gary. GaryVee.
CeraVe.
So like, you just have to cross Cera out and do Gary, and then there you go.
There's only one. I mean, the most famous V is GaryVee. So
GaryVee.
There it is. So I hope we got this on film.
It's yours. It's yours.
Hasn't been approved yet.
So, hasn't been approved yet. We haven't pitched this quite yet, but we're working on it.
Thank you.
There's the next spot.
So good. I'm available.
Okay, next, quickly, do we want to jump into Dove? Do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, I said it before, and again, this is a tough piece to follow this, but I think this is what the beauty of YouTube is that you have so many different styles of, whether it's, educational or whether it's just crazy or stuff like that. And certainly Dove has used it as their #1 platform. And this piece of work got 38 million views in 1 week. And it's the biggest thing that Dove has done in using YouTube, and it wouldn't have happened. Actually, Facebook rejected it. YouTube, we did have some issues because the content is so serious and so things, but it did launch, the longer form version launched, and I promise you, it's and we'll talk about it a little bit after, but why this piece was so moving to me, but also why it touched so many people. And without YouTube, this doesn't really see the light of day. And think about the lives that it will impact going forward. And that's really why we're in this business. So
this was sent to me by so many non-advertising people, Rob.
And let's sit down and I will read you a book.
You are so beautiful to me.
Good job, Mary.
You are so beautiful.
Hello, we're Mary and Addie's comedy show.
To me, can't you see, dear Mary? Everything I hoped for. You're everything I need. You are so beautiful to me. You are so.
You want a small waist this summer when your favorite product is here. Alright, that's it. Come on.
To me, can't you see? Everything I hoped for. You're everything I need.
Get yourself a tape measure. Thigh gaps are in.
So beautiful to me.
You are so beautiful to me. Can't you see? You're everything I hope for, everything I need.
You are so beautiful to me. Can't you see?
Hard to watch, right? And when we talk about brands and media companies that are thinking TV first, it's never ran on TV. No version of this ran on TV, all through YouTube. Listen, these are the kind of things where this is a tool for parents to talk to their kids. I'm someone who suffers from an eating disorder since I was 23 years old. Still live with it. It's like being an alcoholic. You fight it every single day. This is the first piece of work done by Ogilvy. I had nothing to do with it other than said, this moved me. And I talk about it a lot because this is the power of YouTube. This is the power of what we do. So I'm super proud to be part of the industry. I try to pump up as many people and many brands. I'm competitive, but I want everybody to win because our fight is the value of what we do. So boards of companies and CEOs believe that marketing and putting dollars into whether it's broadcast TV or print or hopefully more YouTube and more social media, that's what's important. So It's a great piece of work, but it takes great, brave clients who believe in the power of it.
Thank you for sharing. I mean, this is it is a moving spot, especially if you have kids as well too. I mean, having a daughter, seeing those girls up there, so it was nice to be moved like that on a Friday morning for sure, because it does show the power of storytelling and having the right platforms to tell those stories. And so that's why I'm so thankful for all of you to be here today to really share. And again, this could be the first of many conversations, because I love this, and I do think that we have to do more of these sessions where we talk about the power of this platform, the power of storytelling, and have brands really understand what they can unlock when they, even when you don't get it right, because it's like getting those insights and learnings. You just have to really invest and believe in it. So,
but you got to get to the media company, and Gary's point is right. There's too many people controlling it for the wrong reasons. We'll do whatever. The creators will give us a platform, but you've got to get to this should be a room filled with the media companies, whether it's a holding company media company or independent media company or whatever it might be. We'll do anything. Give us the platform. We'll make it. There's so many great things, but
and give us the insights.
And to the point of all this amazing talent in this room, there's certain formats that give you more room to do incredible things. It's really hard to do a remarkable story in a 15-second video. It is very challenging, and it's done all the time, but it tends to be done in social where you have unlimited freedom to do it versus what we're forced to do in 15-second video and something that's being done above the line. When you start giving this level of talent 3 minutes, it can get really serious really fast. And if you notice that spot, what was always exciting to me about was the first second gave you a chance. Yeah. If you look at the first second with her coming to the camera, I don't know if you see it. This is my favorite thing that I want to contribute to this industry. If we can just add a little science to the production of the big stuff, that video doesn't go to that place if it started with a Dove logo or Dove Presents. If that literally starts with Dove Presents and then it went, you can't imagine. I have no clue how much, if any, media was put behind it. You can get to 39, you can spend to 1 billion views. You can do 0 and get to 1 billion views. But I can promise you, as someone who's been obsessed for 20 years on the context of the creative, if that starts with Dove Presents, it's over. But the fact that it didn't, and it started like a YouTube video, and I just think this circle represents 500 people in our industry and 5,000 behind them that have unleashed contextually to the actual media landscape that we now live in, and we made creative that's contextual for it. The stories of moving and making impact and change, and whether it's frivolous stuff like selling more stuff, which I love in one part, or stuff like this, which I love in another part of my life, it can all be achieved, but we need some tweaks.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for being here. I know Gary has a hard stop.
Yep.
So
the copter's on the roof.
I was gonna say.
By the way, that wasn't Gary's helicopter. That was an actual earthquake.
Was it?
It was an earthquake.
Okay, because I felt it.
4.8 earthquake.
I felt it.
It's so funny. I was so in middle of thought and talking. I saw all of you paying attention. I was like, I'm persevering through this. I don't know what I missed. I'm so.
I looked at each other like.
I'm so pumped. I'm so pumped that I talked through an earthquake. I've achieved a huge goal of my life.
I was like,
Gary's got to deal with God, that when he speaks, he's like, give me an earthquake, God. God, give me an earthquake. Okay?
What were you doing during the earthquake? I was in the middle of a point of contextual social media creative. Awesome. I wish you all well.
No one can beat this panel. We made an earthquake happen. So
That's the headline.
That's the headline. That's the headline.